Hey everybody, and welcome to The Void, a show dedicated to filling the void between being an employee and becoming self-employed. Most people refer to starting their own company as taking the leap, as if they're blindly jumping off a cliff and into the unknown. This show is here to help you understand that it doesn't have to be that way. As always, if you like what you're hearing on the show, please do us a favor and help share The Void with somebody else who might be wanting to start their own company. We saw an opportunity to help others understand that self-employment is well within your reach, and just as our businesses have grown organically and by word of mouth, we want this show to grow the same way. So if you see somebody asking questions about starting their own service-based business, please do us a favor and send them a link to the show. I'm your host, Mitch Smedley, and with me as always is David Hilton.
Did you do some fentanyl-laced cocaine before I came over here? You
Not.
are acting really fucking weird today.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood today.
Are you in a good mood?
I'm in a good mood. Slept great last night.
And I didn't. I've been sleeping like shit lately.
Yeah?
Time for a couple Tylenol PMs and a gummy, maybe.
Yeah,
Just crash the fuck out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to reset, man.
Yep.
Sometimes you just got to reset.
Sometimes you need to sleep in.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to get up early. It just
Yeah.
depends.
Man, I could use a sleep-in day. This soccer, all weekend, last weekend. I got to go to Iowa in 2 weeks for kids fucking soccer.
I know, you're skipping out on my golf invite.
I know, dude. Free golf. I
had to invite Jared.
And then I... Don't say it like it's something. I like Jared.
He still hadn't replied yet.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, that'll be great. I'm looking at my calendar. Oh, man, Iowa for kids soccer. You know what's going to happen, don't you?
Ooh.
It's going to freaking rain its ass off.
You know, I just thought of something.
Second, third, and fourth.
So this show drops this Friday.
Yes.
So 7 days after this show drops is when this golf tournament is.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for... So this golf tournament is affiliated with Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of America.
Yeah, PHCC.
PHCC, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm looking...
That's why I was kind of excited. I was like, dude, this would be a great thing for Mitch and I to go to. Wear our trade win shirts. I'm like, yeah, going through my calendar. No, fuck.
Yeah. And so, I'm trying to find somebody that's in the plumbing, heating, cooling space to go. The last year I sponsored that golf tournament.
Yeah, had a ton of fun.
I got like 2 teams, right?
Yeah, it was great.
Not any of my guys play golf. Not one.
No, I know. It was all the rest of us. The trade wins guys.
None of my plumbers.
You should help Andrew. He'd like to go.
Well, it's got to be plumbing, heating, cooling related.
Does it?
I mean, PHCC.
I will say
I'm trying to stay with that. Like, I know a lot of people that would go and play golf, but I'm trying to find like a plumbing or...
Is it a morning tee time?
Yeah.
I will say this. If they move her game, which they do this a lot, so out-of-town teams, they try not to schedule on Friday nights. Mm-hmm. They move those games a lot. The problem is I probably won't know for a week or so.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. If somebody's wanting to come in town...
You're trying to get
You're trying
to get a ringer.
No, I have a feeling we won't win because I'm not that great at golf, and the guy that invited me to join his team...
He sucked too.
So the guy that invited me is the local A.O. Smith and State Water Heater rep. Big Rivers Marketing is the official company.
Gotcha.
They market for a bunch of brands, and State and A.O. Smith are one of their brands. North Star is also one of their brands. And
that's cool.
So yeah, like we're like...
I didn't realize they were... Okay.
Well, North Star is not affiliated with State and A.O. Smith.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought you were saying.
No, they're the local rep for State and A.O. Smith and North Star and a couple of other brands. And so, like, we're their jam. Like, I use, like, almost all of the products that they rep.
Yeah, they're like, we got to get Mitch Smedley.
North Star softeners and State water heaters and all that.
Get him some Hooter girls out on the tee box.
Yeah. Yeah. Get him to buy some of these water heaters at these jacked up tariff prices. But,
oh, man.
So the guy that invited me is with Big Rivers, and he's like, we're not that great at golf, but we have a fun time. And I'm like, all right, same here.
First off, every golf tournament I've ever been to is just a good time.
Or a Liars Fest.
Or
right?
a Liars Fest.
You got a whole group of people that shoot 70 at a 4-man scramble, and then you got the one team that shoots 52.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, liar.
Yeah, come on. I mean, we do it too. So at the last one, you and I weren't golfing together, but the guys I was golfing with, I think it was a par 5. It would have been our second shot, and I shanked one like into the street, basically.
Mulligan.
And I was like, I still got a mulligan, right? And they're like, yeah. So I dropped the ball, and I said, if this goes in the street, I'm not taking my mulligan.
Yeah.
And I smoked it within like 10 feet of the pin, and I was like, okay, I'm taking my mulligan.
That's it.
They're like, you're supposed to like declare that before. I was like, fuck that.
Preemptive.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So stupid. I do have some exciting news.
Yeah.
Our app is finally done.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Tradewinds has an app.
Tradewinds Job calculator.
Okay.
It is
Job price calculator.
job price calculator. You don't want to go to a CRM, right? You're a one-man show, whatever. You get the app. You can literally, we have in there already $300 an hour, but you can change that. There's already a price markup percentage calculator built in that you can turn on and off.
For your material?
For your material, if you want. You just put your company name in there. You can add your logo to the invoice, description, everything, and then you can actually send that invoice via text or email.
You know what we should call that app?
Straight from your phone. What?
Side work.
Side work. We should call it side work.
We should call it side work.
Work. Dude, it's awesome. It's great. For those
because
guys,
I'm willing to bet a lot of people search, like, what's a good app for doing side work?
Yeah.
I know it side work.
All of the tradewinds guys are going to be pissed because I think they think that we've been developing an app for the website. Like an actual
like videos and everything else.
Yeah, so the videos and the login and all that stuff is on an app. Sorry, guys.
This is beyond you.
This is not for you guys. You guys are above
You're
this.
way beyond that.
But this is for guys, that they don't have a CRM yet, and they're just running maybe some side jobs or want to be able to have a professional-looking invoice.
Ooh.
It's great, dude. It works so good.
You got a CRM called Jobber, right?
Yeah.
Let's call this one Side Jobber.
Side Jobber? Oh, my God.
Side Jobber Pro.
I see too many blowjob jokes.
Side call. House call side job pro. House jobber.
I don't know.
Jobber pro.
We can always
come
change
up with some.
All it is now is the Tradewinds job calculator.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, just upload it. Upload it. Well, you sure? Upload it. I'm tired of fucking with it.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the time this comes out, you'll be able to buy it.
Well, sweet.
It's only $5.
Yeah.
You want to pay $100 a month for a CRM?
No.
No. I just
One-time purchase $5 and you're done.
Own it forever.
Own it forever.
Send invoices. Look professional.
Yep.
Don't look like 30-pack Jack.
Well, yeah.
You don't want this. Toilet install, $75, cash only. Here's your receipt, bro.
Yeah.
No, that's not what you want.
Can you take credit cards through the app?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
You have to be able to. But
we've got a credit card processor. Empower Payments.
I have whistled this by Brady once,
Yep.
and we're not sure how that would work yet.
Wouldn't integrate it into it with the app, but if you got that and you signed up with Brady, you could process credit cards.
Or if you can take credit cards or Apple Pay or Venmo, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You just take payments through your phone still anyway.
I bet you're going to have somebody buy it right out of the gate, and I'm willing to bet his name is Mason because he'll probably use it for mowing yards.
It doesn't. That is not for him.
Like
there's no square footage for yard, and then it spits out a price.
No, he's just going to plug in a price.
Did you
Small
guys?
yard, medium yard, big yard.
Yeah, he could, and then it looked nice.
Yeah.
If
he's mowing a 3-acre yard tonight.
I've been tagging him and stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's running and gunning. Did you guys?
We're gonna have to fix his truck though.
Did you guys come to an agreement on the price of your yard?
Yeah, 30. It ain't changing. He's like, I don't give discounts for anybody. You're not giving me a discount.
I'm giving you a discount.
I'm giving you a discount
bitch.
on storage.
Yeah. And when I'm done, I'm going upstairs. I'm gonna your mother.
Yeah.
You little shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. 30.
Yeah. No discounts.
I will say, no offense, yard didn't look that great when I got here.
No,
a lot of holes. It's getting too much water or too much fertilizer.
So,
looks like you cut it too short.
Now, what it is somebody's being lazy on the fertilizer this year. That's me.
Oh.
And somebody is allowing Mason to focus on his other yards and just get ours when you can.
No.
And so that means ours gets way too long, and then by the time he cuts it, it's like killing it because it's
cuts it,
chopping it,
scalping it. Yeah.
So
I just put my fertilizer down. Not that anyone listening to this show gives a fuck. Last week, and then we got all that rain. Dude, the dandelions are out of control. So I have a sprayer that goes on my mule. I got that out today. Went to Feldman's, got all my weed killer. So I mowed before I came here. Janine's finishing it up. I'm gonna spray when I get home because I hate that.
Yep.
Like all that money into the yard, looking good, nice house, and then it's like, what the fuck happened out here?
What in the Grain Valley happened?
God, what in the Grain Valley happened out here?
That is their state tree. The dandelion is the Grain Valley.
Is it?
City tree.
I will say this. If you drive through neighborhoods in Grain Valley, yes.
Yes. It's
yes.
the city tree.
They are everywhere.
Yeah.
But my yard,
My yard has more this year than it's ever had before, and that's because I didn't fertilize it all last year, and I haven't started yet this year.
I didn't put down all the people that are yelling, put down your pre-emergent. I don't do that because I seed in the spring and the fall, so fuck you guys. I got to spray. Oh, you're killing all the bees. Damn right I am, and that yard looks good, bitch.
Yeah. There's hundreds of acres nearby for those bees. They can avoid my 4.
Yeah, exactly. Layla actually said that to me. She was like, but Dad, what about the bees? Well, they got no flowers. There's no nothing. I was like, you know what? We'll put in a flower garden if you want.
Yeah.
So
we'll give them plenty.
That's next on my list. Next week, probably.
There you go.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Do I really want to get the tiller out and plant? I don't know. I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it.
I mean, look at what you do for chickens. You'll do more for flowers.
Dude, you know what? Those fucking chickens, we can't keep eggs. Like, well, there's barely enough for us. I posted that one thing on Facebook. And then all the people Janine knows, she just tells them at work, they're gone.
Yeah.
Just gone. I mean, yeah, it is good, but it's like, man, I got that pasture. Maybe I'll get one of those automatic motorized.
Yeah. We go through 2 dozen a week.
Yeah, you don't get any. Your wife insulted my eggs.
I know.
Bitch.
That's all right.
I only like half-dead chicken eggs. I don't understand it, but, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, to each their own. We do eat a lot of eggs, too.
Yeah.
They're good for you. They say, oh, they're high in cholesterol, this and that, blah, blah, blah. If you eat one piece of fruit, like a small orange, every day, you can basically have as many eggs as you want, and it cancels out that cholesterol because it's not like meat-based cholesterol.
I don't think so. Eggs is a staple of a person that is very fit, right?
Yes.
I have a feeling the whole eggs are high in cholesterol bullshit.
Oh, you think? Yeah.
Is an excuse that fat asses use. Like, oh, I would get healthy, but those eggs, those are high in cholesterol.
Yeah. I will say this. I never really noticed before until I started eating them a lot. But it's like, man, it's a really great energy punch like 20 minutes after you eat one or eat 3 or 4, whatever.
Yep.
And that protein sticks with you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you feel all shitty like you just ate an 8-ounce steak. You know, you don't feel weighed down. You feel light. You got energy.
Yep.
Rolls off of you. You're still hungry later. It's great.
Yep.
It's kind of like rice, but good.
Chicken and rice.
I hate
That's
rice.
my staple.
I fucking hate rice, dude.
Lately, my staple's been Factor meals.
Are you still on those?
Yeah. $10 a piece. Can't complain. So.
$10 a piece? God, that's expensive.
Yeah.
When compared to making food at home.
Yeah, no grocery shopping. No planning, no preparing. Lunch and dinner's ready in 2.5 minutes. Like, pretty.
I get it. I know why it's popular.
For a guy on the go that's busy, that's wife hates cooking. She's an amazing cook. She just hates doing it. And what's funny is she enjoys the cooking.
She doesn't like the cleanup.
It's the planning and the preparation and all of the. Like a recipe calls for a 1/4 tablespoon of this, and so now you got to go buy that just for a 1/4 tablespoon, and like. The inventory.
Tell me you're a white rich girl without telling me you're a white rich girl.
All right, so you've newly started your company and you're trying to pinch pennies. However, you don't realize the biggest thing that's hurting you right now is not gathering all of your information into one spot and making it super efficient for you to use. So the answer is Field Pulse. It gets you off of paper tickets. It gets you off of all of that crazy office work at the end of the day and reconciling all that stuff. And it lets you organize everything with ease. It puts it all into the computer. It actually puts it all into the cloud. So it's not even putting it on your computer. And it lets you organize your customers. It lets you organize all of your service calls. Heck, it'll even route you to your service call. And the best part is, even after all of that, you'll probably realize about a 100% growth in your business just in the first year of using Field Pulse. So if you'd like to check out Field Pulse and see what great looks like, click on the link in the description of this show. She's white and she's a girl.
Okay, spoiled. How about spoiled?
Yeah,
how about spoiled instead?
She ain't rich, but I'll go spoiled.
I will say, I love cooking.
Yeah.
Like you've been in my house. I got that big kitchen and everything. I did that for me, not for her. I love it.
Yeah, I enjoy cooking. I'm not creative. I enjoy following the directions.
No, you are not very creative.
So like we did Home Chef.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool.
I bet that was cool.
Everything was already pre-measured and
it came in a box. You
came in a box
and cooked it.
And you had to assemble it.
Yeah.
Right? I enjoy that. Like that was awesome. You throw on some good music, open up a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Canned by the time you're done.
Oh,
it's
man,
perfect.
it was great. But
how many bottles did you have? I don't know. I was just
this was a bottle and a half meal.
40-minute meals are one.
Yeah.
An hour's 1.5.
Yeah.
A 1.5's 2. 3 hour. We don't buy those.
Yeah.
Everybody's too drunk by the time the turkey comes out.
I'm not basting a turkey.
I love making turkey. Man, Thanksgiving. Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? I may just make a turkey this weekend.
Fuck it. Nobody ever tells you that, like, it doesn't have to be your birthday to go buy a birthday cake. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving to buy a turkey.
Damn right.
Like, you can go to the Honey Baked Ham store and buy a ham whenever you want.
Mm.
I got half of one left from our Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
So
delicious.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah. Like, is it ever not good?
No, I've never had one that wasn't good.
Yeah.
I've never even had a half-ass honey ham from like Hy-Vee or Price Chopper that I have to make on my own that's been bad.
Yeah.
Those are great too.
Yep.
Ugh.
The only people that doesn't like that is PETA.
Fuck PETA. I love all that stuff. I saw one the other day. It was like,
Don't
where do
eat
you
me for Easter.
Where
All
do you
right,
draw?
I'll save you for Christmas.
Where do you draw the line? And there's a picture of a dog and then a cow. And then someone below us like, why don't you draw the line? And it's tulips and then a piece of broccoli. Like, no, we don't eat everything. Stop. What the fuck's the matter with you?
Well, so that animal spectrum is like dogs and horses and ducks and all of this stuff. And then it gets over to like the horse and the cow are right next to each other.
Yeah.
And everything to the right of the cow is like a cow, a chicken, like all things we actually eat.
Delicious.
And so somebody took that billboard and edited it and like drew a line on it and said, I draw the line right here. Like, I eat everything to the right of this. That's where I draw the line. It's pretty funny.
Where do you draw the line? Just circle the ones you eat?
Just right here.
The ones in the circle.
About right here. That's where I draw it.
God.
I'm not eating a horse, but I will eat a cow.
I'm telling you what, people used to eat a lot of horse.
Yeah.
People used to eat a lot of dog. When you're starving to death.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the wagon trail days, you ate whatever the fuck you could get.
You ate your neighbor.
Oh, don't go. That's too far, Mitch.
Unless he died from dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
Too far. Yeah.
Like we all did.
Did anyone ever
on that Commodore 64?
Anyone ever win
I don't know.
Oregon Trail?
I never did.
I never made it past the river.
I either
always drowned in the river.
Drown in a river or died of dysentery. One of the two.
Do you think that they just made it like no one will
one will ever win?
Like it's like one out of every million people play it, they get to go through.
Imagine video gamers back then.
Yeah.
If we're not playing Call of Duty.
No.
We're playing Oregon Trail.
We're trying to live.
We're hacking Oregon Trail. Yeah. That's funny.
Oh man. What's with the fidget spinners?
Yeah,
So you had
I had two
weird color.
Yeah, they were
purple
like
ones.
chrome plated and all this.
Layla was into all this fidget stuff for about 6 months and she's like, "Dad, it's dumb."
No,
and then she quit.
It's dumb. I've realized with my ADD that I've got to have
you
something.
need them.
Yeah.
You're insane.
So Danielle kept asking me for months, why is glitter all over your face? And what it is the chrome paint was peeling off those fidget spinners and getting everywhere. This is in my face, this is in my hair.
You been going to the fucking tip bar, motherfucker?
Yeah,
You goddamn fucking
What's her
asshole.
name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chastity, and she's
her
fucking
name's
hot.
Her name's Glitorious.
Glitorious.
But so she got tired of.
She's the glitter queen.
And, I mean, what are these fidget spinners, like $1, right?
I have no idea, man.
And so she got tired of me always having glitter all over me, and I'm like, you bought the last ones, buy better ones that don't shed their paint. And so she got these that are like impregnated.
$1.50 instead of $1.
I don't know, but they're like impregnated, so they're not painted. It's like the plastic is that color.
Yeah, no, you're just getting cancer.
Yeah,
it's just a carcinogen.
Yeah, it's just BPA.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah,
as long as you're not licking it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of my cool tricks.
All right, I'm out. I'm not touching.
So yeah, I got a whole host of fidget spinners that won't leave me colored in glitter.
I love you.
Somebody actually called me out the other day. They were like, "Who uses the fidget spinners on the podcast?" Because the bearings were going bad in them, and you could hear them like. Whoosh,
oh really? I guess I never noticed.
Yeah. So I think it was Dave Nabhan, if I remember right. Somebody did it. So Nabhan.
He actually texted me the other day.
So
how I was doing. So you're weird, man. That's where I was going with that. You got a lot of weird stuff going on in your life.
I'm a weird dude.
You got weird shit in your personal life. You got fidget spinners.
Speaking of weird, and this is actually going to evolve in today's show.
Okay.
Had a little bit of drama on Easter. You know, it's not a good Easter unless the cops are there. Right?
Okay, first off, let me say this. I know your in-laws were here.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this story.
So
I get in here just for everyone to have like I get in here, I'm like, what we're going to talk about? He goes, you're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. But he doesn't tell me.
No.
And then he's like, it's about Easter. And I was like, okay,
yeah.
It's got to be good.
So we got to host this year.
Okay.
So,
here at your house.
At our house. And had all the family over.
Your family and hers or just yours?
No, so my family is actually RVing this week.
Oh, your mom and dad are out of town in the RV? Nice.
They're in Kearney.
Well, you got to take a short trip
Yeah,
first.
they're doing the test. Yeah, let's go an hour away and see if we have problems. And let's go an hour away, but like near a hardware store, right? So like,
can we stay in the Westlake Hardware parking lot, please?
Yeah.
Do you guys have an outlet?
If Westlake had hookups, that'd be great. But so they're RVing this week.
Okay, so it's just her family.
Just her family.
Okay.
And as luck would have it, I don't want to sound bad. Her dad and stepmom were not able to make it because her stepmom got sick.
Okay.
Her brother and her brother's fiance were not able to make it.
Lucas?
No, Chesley.
Okay.
They were not able to make it. They have a newborn. Like,
oh yeah, you don't be dragging that thing around. Anymore.
And she works in a hospital, so she's hyper in tune to all, newborn illnesses and risks and all of that. And it's their first, and so they're a little cautious, right?
Hey, it's your first kid. Understand?
Yeah, not hating you on you. They actually ran into it's good they didn't come. She actually had to get rushed to the hospital on Sunday. She was traveling somewhere in Colombia, and she pulled over to feed the child.
Okay.
And she, I need to follow up and see what happened. She started experiencing like excruciating pains, like something similar to like an appendix rupture or something. And so they had to rush her to the hospital. And I have not asked Danielle like what's the follow up with that. So I'm sure it's something like a appendix or some.
That's
rapid onset thing.
Can you imagine? Pulled over on the side of the road.
I know.
Oh!
Yeah, all those pains.
You got this little bitty baby.
Yeah. It's probably a scary time.
Oh, I guarantee she was freaked the fuck out.
But her sisters and all their family came.
Okay.
And then her sisters have some really good friends that live real close to us.
Okay.
And they don't really have a close group to hang out with, so they always just tag along.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like
you love being the center of. Like, bring everybody. I'm the same way at my house.
Yeah, we're more like, bring whoever. Like, I'm not going to forbid you.
Yeah, right? We're making a big dinner. Come on over.
Yeah, that's why we bought a giant boat. Was like, I never want to tell people no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so everyone gets over here, and we all have fun time and everything. And the boys...
Is this Easter Sunday?
Easter Sunday.
Okay, Easter Sunday.
And so the cousin boys, it rained on Easter and rained the day before. So the cousin boys were like, let's go to the creek.
Oh,
the creek's flowing. Like, let's play in the woods and all that. And so
let's get some oily water in our system and dysentery. Speaking of,
I mean, if you've listened to every episode of this show, you'll understand what can be found in that creek. Do you remember that?
Yes, I had kind of forgot, but you reposted a memory.
Yeah,
like this was just a month ago, maybe.
It was 2 years ago, a month ago.
No, but the repost was like a month ago, and I laughed out loud when I saw it.
So we were mid filming a podcast. Like 2 years ago. And my family knows if we're filming a podcast, like, don't interrupt.
You can come in.
You can come in, you can watch, you can listen, but just don't interrupt unless it's important. Now,
or
if
you
it's
want to get on
important,
the mic.
Yeah, if it's important, interrupt, right?
Yeah.
And so Danielle kind of barged in, and she was like, you need to see this. And I'm like, well, she knows the rules, so it's got to be good. And she sets half of a pocket pussy on my desk in the middle of the podcast. And my kid had a friend over, and they were exploring in the creek, and they found a pocket pussy half buried in the mud.
Are you tired of complex and high credit card processing fees? The Void Podcast has negotiated exclusive rates for the Void listeners. This program's tailored for trade businesses like yours. And if you're using House Call Pro, switch and you can expect to save $80 for every 10,000 you process per month. Don't let high processing fees drain your profits. Visit empowerpayments.com/the void or call us at 913-423-1265 now and unlock your savings.
Wasn't it a pocket face? Wasn't it a butt and a face?
Well, it was double-ended.
Yeah.
And one end was
on
a
one
face.
Side and a face on the other.
Yes.
It was, and it was black.
And it had a nose and a mouth and teeth. And a tongue.
It was weird.
Yeah. And the boys made a comment that it makes a funny noise when you pull the tongue out and stretch it and then let it go. But
I don't remember that. But
yeah,
that's great.
they had broken it in half in the course of their play, and so we sent them out to find the other half. And if you stalk my face, if you go to Facebook and you type in Mitch Smedley Pocket Pussy, you'll find the post, and it's pretty funny. And you'll be like, "Oh my god!"
When you say pussy, it makes me laugh.
Yeah,
I don't know why. You say it just
kind
a
of
little
funny.
weird.
But so yeah, the creek is bountiful with opportunities for the boys to have fun. And so all the boy cousins are like, we're going to play in the creek. Cool, go. And so they go. Well, one of Danielle's sister's sons comes up back to the house, and he says, Uncle Mitch, we've got a problem.
How old is this kid?
He's probably
5,
10.
12. Okay.
He's probably 8 or 10.
Okay.
So, and very good kid, very respectable, very responsible.
Uncle Mitch.
And so he comes up to the house and he says, Uncle Mitch, we've got a problem. There's a neighbor down there that seems to be mad, and Grant's telling me to ignore her, but she's telling us we can't play in the creek.
Is this the same broad?
This is
That's done it before.
Yes.
And called the cops.
Yeah. So we've run into issues with this neighbor before.
Yeah, because she's insane.
And essentially their house backs up to the creek.
Yeah.
Their house property line is 200 feet from the creek.
Yeah.
But they mow.
Yeah.
That area between their property line and the creek, and so they like to claim responsibility for it. Right?
And that's fine, but that doesn't mean you own shit.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can forbid people from walking on neighborhood HOA green space.
Yeah. It's
right?
the same
Common
as those.
area.
You see those all the time. Guys are fishing, creek fishing, fly fishing and stuff, and so they walk up the river.
Yeah,
whatever,
walk up the river.
And then someone will come out and be like, this is my creek.
Yeah,
well,
you don't own the water.
I asked the MDC or, Department of Conservation, and they said I could do it. As long as you only stay in the water, you're good.
Yep.
And it's actually, I think it's like 10 feet on each side,
Well,
depending
every state's different.
on the area. Yes.
Yeah, every state's different.
Anyways, I
But
digress. Go ahead.
this isn't even that. Like this is neighborhood-owned property. It's
and
not privately owned.
And your kids aren't the only ones that go down there.
God, no.
She probably just hates you.
No, she's just a curmudgeon-y person. And what's funny is she doesn't even live in the house.
Oh,
my
God.
She's a guest in this house.
Oh, my God.
It's the homeowner's daughter, right?
Oh, how old do you think this broad is?
So she is mid-40s.
Oh, yeah, not getting laid. Hates her life.
Yeah. And so we've run into problems with this lady before. And so back when my oldest son had a dirt bike, he and my neighbor, one of his buddies, over near there they were riding their dirt bikes around, and they stopped in the street and were like chatting, like, where do you want to go? And this lady comes out of her dad's house, and she was like, you guys can't be riding through here. Those are loud. Those are annoying. You guys need to go away, and all this stuff. And again, she doesn't have control over that.
Yeah.
And our city actually allows for play vehicles.
Yeah.
And so they're not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything against the law, anything like that.
A lot of Karens out there, man.
And so this time, and this was a while ago, but at this time she sent her son out, who at this time would have been 11 or 12, and she sent her son out to try to kick my son off of his dirt bike. And my son's, like, her son's very overweight for his age. He's large for his age, but he's still smaller than my oldest son.
Yeah.
And
that's so funny, too, because Mason is, like, I don't want to say he's soft, but he's a gentle person.
He's a gentle person that'll hold it in until...
Yeah, and then he loses
and then
his
he
mind.
snaps,
Yeah.
right? And so, that caused a whole lot of friction back then.
Grant punches the kid first thing.
Never did anything with that, but we've run into problems with her before with Grant playing in the creek. And so here it is, Easter Sunday, and my sister-in-law's kid.
There's kids out there having a good time. It's family time.
He comes up and says this lady's pestering him and all this stuff. And so we go stand outside, and we can hear her yelling at Grant. Yelling across the creek at Grant.
And let's be honest, Grant's sucking it all up and loving every minute of it. Because that shit doesn't seem to bother him.
Well, we've instructed Grant, ignore her.
Yeah.
She's in the wrong. You're not in the wrong.
Don't yell.
Don't
Shut
antagonize.
Up, you fat bitch.
Just ignore her. Just act like you don't even hear her.
Yeah.
And so so that's what was going on. Well, she's yelling at Grant, yelling at Grant, and yelling at Grant.
She cussing at him or just telling him to get out of there?
Just yelling.
Okay.
So then we notice somebody else standing near Grant. And then Grant comes and walks back towards the house. And we're like, I don't even know who that other kid is. Is that an adult or a kid? No, it's a big kid.
Okay.
And come to find out, it's this lady's son. And so she's getting all snippy, and Danielle shouts at her from our porch.
Yeah.
You know,
Danielle's a crazy redhead. You should have just sicked her.
We're probably like our backs of our houses kind of line up with each other. And there's probably 750 to 1,000 feet between the two houses.
I was going to say, it's at least 100, 125 yards.
Yeah.
That's a long ways.
And so they're screaming at each other, and now this lady's getting nasty. And so Danielle's like, fuck this. I'm not yelling across the neighborhood for this. I'm going to walk over there.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, well, I know this is going in a way.
You know that means I'm walking over there.
So she walks over there. She's barefoot. And I know this whole thing's...
Let me ask you, had she been drinking?
We all had. As Easter. The blood of Christ, right?
Thank you, Jesus. Let's get tanked.
No, we weren't tanked, but we had some...
I'm asking. So she'd had a couple.
We had a couple of glasses of wine.
All right, I like it. Fired up and ready to fuck somebody up.
And so she goes storming over there barefoot, and I'm like, I already know where this is going, and this is about the creek. I'm going to run to the garage, and I'm going to put my muck boots on.
Yeah.
And when I walk over there, I'm not walking around the creek because there's a dry dam around the creek.
Okay.
I'm not walking around the creek. I'm going to walk straight through the fucking creek.
Let me guess. This creek's 12 foot deep, and you
don't
realize
I mean, it's Russian.
It.
It's Russian. It's 2 feet deep.
I was hoping
It's taller than my boots.
Oh, that sucks.
But I'm like, I'm going to make it a point that, like, not only are you going to boss kids around and tell kids they can't play in the creek, I'm an adult, and I'm going to directly defy you because you don't control this, right?
I am an adult, damn it.
Yeah. And so I put on my boots, and I start walking down there, and they're already, jack-jawing back and forth, not quite shouting yet. But I walk down there, and now I get to my son, and I pass him first.
Yeah.
And he's got a tear in his eye, and he's like, Dad, that kid put his hands on me and put me on the ground.
Do you tell him? Dude,
so,
next time you got to fuck that kid up.
Well, this kid's big.
What?
He's the same age as Grant, but I'll be honest with you, he's probably 100 pounds heavier than Grant.
Dude, nuts and throat.
I know.
You got to get him something.
So
boxing.
So now it's come to the realization. You're mad as fuck. Well, so now I've been told by both of my kids on 2 separate occasions that this lady has sent her son to go be physical and do her dirty work.
Yeah.
And so it's obvious the kid does not have a strong father in his life.
No.
It's obvious this kid is not down a good path, but no fault of his own.
No, it's his mother's.
It ain't
piece
his
of shit.
fault. His mom's a royal piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone's out there arguing, and they're talking property lines and who can control what and everything else.
I just have called the cops right then.
So
I'm either fucking them up or calling the cops.
So obviously, like, the lady is irrational. We're not going to get through to the lady.
No, you should have had Danielle slap her in the mouth.
So what I did was I walked right past Grandpa and right past Mom, and I walked straight up to the 13-year-old kid, and I grabbed him by the shirt.
Uh-oh.
And I get in his face, and I said, if you ever touch one of my sons again, you're going to regret it. And he starts crying.
Good.
And so then I let him go. Never touched his skin. Only touched his shirt.
Doesn't matter.
Right?
You're still in trouble.
No, not in trouble. And so then the son backs up, and he pulls out his phone and starts recording and, all this stuff. And now the mom's getting, like, super nasty. And she's like, call the cops. We're calling the cops. That's assault and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, okay.
Call them.
Because, technically what you've done is assault. Assault doesn't have to be physical contact.
No.
Assault can be putting somebody in a position where they feel harmed or threatened in any way.
Yeah, which I still think is bullshit.
It's bullshit, right?
Yeah. But you're right.
And I'm like,
that's the law.
Call them, right? This isn't the first time you've called the cops on kids in the creek.
Yeah, call them.
And so she calls them.
That call comes through, and the Blue Springs guys are like, oh, this fucking bitch again.
Yeah.
You know it.
And so she calls them, and we sit there and argue a little bit more. And the grandpa, he's actually a cool guy. The grandpa's like, I mow down there and everything else. And I'm like, I understand you mow down there, but
it's not yours, dude.
I said, my son mows yards. That doesn't mean he has any right to kick anybody out of somebody else's yard.
Yeah.
He's just mowing it.
Yeah.
You don't own this property. You have no rights to say what happens on this property.
Yeah.
And what's happening is not against the rules of the HOA.
And they're just kids.
Right.
It's not like they're setting fires.
No.
And having animal sacrifice.
They're kids playing in a creek and throwing rocks.
Yeah, they're kids.
Right. And so,
and then those are the same type of people that are like, kids just aren't like they used to be back in the day. They're not outside having fun. Well, it's because you won't shut the fuck up and let them be out there.
right. And we see what happens to her kid.
Yeah.
Right? He's insanely obese and a bully and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's eating Vienna sausages and tater tots every day for dinner.
And
Poor
so,
kid. I feel bad for the kid.
I feel bad for the kid. And so, I have the conversation with him, and he's like, "Yeah, I understand. It is what it is." And
did you look at him and go, "Why don't you rein in this bitch daughter of yours, bro? Like, what are you doing?"
Well, so she's just mouthing off, and so now she gets on the phone with the cops, and it's on speaker, and the cops are like, "Does your son have any, injuries? No. Is your son harmed in any way? No. Are there any marks in your son? No." And so then her son starts like motherfucking all of us, like over his mom's shoulder, right? From standing behind his mom. And so finally, like, things kind of get to a boiling point, and it's like, we're just going to leave. You've called the cops.
When they get here,
they're going to come here, and they're going to tell you that you're full of shit and that you have no rights to control what happens down here. And she's like, they're going to, you're going to jail for assault, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, good luck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe later when I sneak in here at night and fuck you up. Maybe then I'll go.
And so we're walking away, and I'm 50 yards away from him. And this lady says something else, and then it fires her son up, and her son starts motherfucking us again. And now he's like, "Yeah, leave, you pussies," and all this stuff. And imagine the type of situation.
Did you look at was Mason out there?
Yeah.
You should have looked at him and been like, "Go beat that fucking kid up."
So
dude.
Mason already did, actually. Before I got there, this is kind of cool. Mason walked straight up to the kid and grabbed him and said, "Don't fuck with my brother."
Yeah, nice.
Right? Which is kind of cool because my kids fight all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for the record, I made sure to tell Mason later, I'm like, for the record, you stood up for your little brother.
Yeah, and you know what you should have done? You should have punched that kid in the face.
Yeah. And so I turn around and I walk right back up to the kid. And now the kid starts crying again and hiding behind his mom. And his mom's like, "Get off our property. You've been told to leave our property," and all this stuff. And I'm like, "I've got a word of advice for your child." Because obviously he doesn't have a strong parent to help him through these hostile situations. So let me do it for you. And I look at him and I'm like, when things are hostile, but they start turning in a direction to where you're getting what you want, shut the fuck up. If you wanted us to leave and we begin to leave, shut up.
Don't antagonize the situation.
Let us leave, right? I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to put my hands on you.
But I'm thinking about it.
However, the next person might not be so restrained.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you following your mom's orders is going to get your ass kicked eventually. And your mom's a piece of shit for doing her physical dirty work through her 13-year-old son.
Oh, of course. Yeah, she's trash.
So then the cops show up, and we have one undercover cop car drive down our street and turn around, and I'm like ready to walk out there and talk to them. And they turn around and drive away, and I'm like, all right, well, they were probably just surveying the situation before they come and talk to us. So then two more cops roll down our street, and so I walk out there and talk to them. And, of course, the cops have only heard her side by this point.
Of course.
Because they went to her first.
Yeah.
And so then they come, and they're like, what's going on? And so I tell them the whole story. And believe it or not, these cops were not the best representation of police.
What is it with you and cops?
I know. And they weren't being bad. They just weren't
They just don't care.
No, they weren't being real. They were like, what's up with all this? And so I tell them, the long relationship with this lady, and she's tried to send her son out to kick my son off a dirt bike before and all this. And so then today, like, the kids are playing in the creek, and they're trying to say that they can't, and they absolutely can. And the cops interrupt me, and they're like, well, he mows all the way down there, so he takes pride in that land.
Doesn't matter. It ain't his.
And I said, we have a water tower right by our house.
Yeah.
And so I pointed over to the water tower, and I said, if I mowed the grass under that water tower, does that mean I can kick anybody off that property that I want? Well, no.
Well, exactly.
Okay. So he doesn't have the right.
Yeah. He doesn't own it.
Technically, you're right. Okay.
Technically is the only thing that matters,
right.
Not your feelings.
And I said, and to be clear, their property is 200 feet from the creek. It's not even like close.
Yeah, it's not like it's 10 foot.
Yeah, it's 200 feet. And so then they were going off again about, the kids throwing rocks and all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, you're arguing the wrong case. You're arguing for a woman who doesn't even own the property that she called you from, that doesn't own the property adjacent to it, that's mad that activities are happening on a property next to a property she doesn't own.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing started as a sham. And so that's the mentality of the person that called you. And you're seeming to take their side. And I said, my problem is that lady's sending her fat fuck kid out there to mess with my children.
Yeah, intentionally.
And they were like, whoa, there's no need to name call. There's no need to call him that name.
It doesn't matter.
And I'm like,
that's not a fact.
Okay, whatever. And they were like, so we saw on video how aggravated you were, and we could pursue you for charges for assault.
Go ahead.
And I'm like, cool. I bet they conveniently didn't tell you about the fact that her son put my son on the ground before the video cameras turned on. I bet they conveniently left out that she sent her son out and tried to kick my son off his dirt bike last year.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys have record of this. She's called you guys 4 times in the past. And they were like, well, you know, she's just doing the right thing. And I said, okay. I bet they also conveniently...
Do you realize... I would have been like, do you realize that's an opinion, right? Like, that's not a fact.
Well, and then I said, do you realize that, like, as things were dying down, her son developed the courage to start motherfucking all of us and calling all of us pussies over his mom's shoulder? Well, freedom of speech prevails there, and the kid can say whatever he wants. And I'm like, hold on.
That's not true.
The kid can say whatever he wants, but I can't call him a fat fuck without being chastised by you guys. Where's my freedom of speech?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so finally, it became kind of apparent that the police, the 2 officers that we had there, were a little bit more aggravated with me than her. And they were like, well, sir, like, we could pursue you for assault. And finally, I realized that they probably can't.
Yeah,
they were
I'd
probably
have told him to
bluffing.
Go ahead and do it. I'd have said, go ahead and do it. Let's go.
I said, I'm going to disagree with you there, because if you could, you would have already. I'd be in handcuffs by now.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And so I'm going to say you probably don't have the proof or the evidence to pursue me with assault. Well, that's debatable. We totally could, but they've opted not to. Oh, really? Yeah, they've opted not to.
Yeah.
Right?
How old were the cops? Were they young kids?
No, they were in their 30s.
Young kids.
And so then...
Oh, that made me cringe.
So then they were like, next time you just need to call us. And I'm like, what good does that do?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we can solve the problem. And I'm like,
no,
you guys
can't.
have been called 4 times already, and
She's
the problem still exists.
Yeah.
And this is the first time anybody's ever heard my half of the story.
Yeah.
So it's obvious calling the cops is not resolving the situation. And I'll add to the fact that the situation today was largely resolved before you guys ever showed up. We were split back up. We were in our respective homes.
Yeah.
Like, you guys haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And I said, I love cops. I love you guys. However, you're siding with the wrong party here. And then they were like, well, you can't go put your hands on a 13-year-old kid. And I said, okay, 2 things for that. For one, how's anybody going to know that giant kid is 13? But for 2, I didn't put my hands on him. I impressed him, right? I got a reaction out of him. I grabbed his shirt, and his shirt only. And I took very special care to not inflict harm on him.
Should have punched his mom.
Only wrinkle his shirt, right? And I said, it's obvious that kid does not have a father in his life that's strict and stern. And maybe today is like the moment of change for that kid. Maybe today is the first negative interaction that kid's had after his mom sent him out to do her dirty work.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that kid probably wanted to play with my kids in the creek. But no, he's sent out there by his mom to go forcibly remove my child from the creek, right?
Yeah.
And so essentially, I walked away from the cops being like, you know, you guys like to act like you could press charges for assault, but you don't have enough information to do so. And I know that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back inside, and you guys are going to go home. And if you're smart, you'll realize that you didn't have the best of handle on this one. And if you're narrow-minded, you'll think you solved a problem today.
The only thing that really bothers me about that is cops are supposed to be 100% impartial until they gather all of the facts and then make a decision.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, it's clear and obvious that didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, and let me be clear. I have 2 uncles that were cops. One's passed away. One's retired. My cousin is a Merriam cop. I have 2 military policemen friends. my buddy Jeff Paywell did some houses for as an independence cop. I love cops.
Yeah.
But man, are they not getting the training? Are we not?
I don't know.
It bothers me because it seems to me a lot lately that instead of staying impartial, they will pick a side one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about us and our lives or whatever.
No.
But like things you see on TV.
Yeah.
You know, things that are happening around the world.
Well, and
you know,
some of
other
that's natural,
people's-
right? They're
Yeah.
going to start to say, like, okay, this person is the aggressor and this person is the victim.
Yes.
And so they're always going to side with the victim.
But until you gather facts,
Right.
you can't.
Right.
You know?
And so they didn't really want to change their tune too much until I reminded them.
Well, they don't want to look bad either.
Right.
You
right.
know what
There's
I mean?
some pride in the way.
They're saving face.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. We all do it.
Yep.
No one likes to be wrong.
And they didn't really start changing their tune too much until I started pushing back on them. And I was very professional with this. I never raised my voice with the cops or anything.
Yeah.
And I
for
never
everyone that listens to the show, Mitch is a very
diplomatic,
tactful, diplomatic, calm person.
Yeah.
I am not.
Right.
Like, I'm probably in jail because I told the one guy to suck the other guy's dick, and like, you know,
Yeah.
something crazy because I have like lost it.
Yeah. And so, you know, I kind of reminded him, like, you don't have enough for assault like you think you do, because otherwise I'd be in handcuffs right now.
Oh yeah, if you don't think that those guys were like, let's go arrest this motherfucker.
You're right.
Like they would have done it.
Right. And I said, I've already admitted. Like, it's not like you were waiting for me to admit I grabbed the kid's shirt. Yeah. I've already told you I grabbed his shirt.
Yeah.
But I've also told you that I made very, very careful decisions to only grab his shirt and not inflict harm on him. However, somebody needs a little bit of shock and awe. Somebody needs to be surprised with the outcome of a situation that's dictated by their mom, and for them to maybe question, do I want to follow my mom's orders the next time she's sending me out to do her dirty work? Right?
Well, and
And
yes.
that's and I don't want to act like, oh, I'm the guy that's going to change that kid's life or anything else. This is not about that. This is, as a 13-year-old boy, you're becoming an adult, and you need to start realizing that not all adults have your best interest at heart, including sometimes your parents, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, let's be honest. That is, not to get off topic, but that is the real problem with America right now. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember what the exact percentage is of kids that grow up without a father, without a strong male presence in their life. And you know what? It doesn't have to be a father.
Right.
Like, just anything.
Yep.
You know, and then they're into drugs and they're into crime, and then they have these overbearing mothers that run their lives, make them more feminine, tell them that masculinity is a bad trait.
Yep.
You know, and then we just raise these little gremlin losers, and then we wonder why we're in the criminal state that we're in now.
Right.
You know, I will say this. I don't say this a lot. Good for you.
Yeah.
You know
Like,
what I mean? Like, you never know when you're going to make an impact on a kid's life. And I'm not saying that I think this is one of those situations. I'm just speaking in generalities. You never know. But maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I like
So
me with your boys. I try to always, you know, I always think at any moment when I'm interacting with them.
You never know what conversation's going to stick.
I never know. So I always try to think of, you know, when I'm having conversations with them, when I'm being playful with them, when I'm being hard on them, things like that. Like, what's going to stick and change their lives or make them think of something differently?
Right.
And I don't do that with just your kids, but just like all kids, for some reason, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, I am really great with kids.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I'm a complete asshole. I drink too much. I cuss too much. I fuck too hard. Like, I am just, I am, like, when you, like, if you didn't know me real well and know how I am around younger people, you'd be like, this guy is a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
But then when I'm around, like, when all the girls come over to my house for Layla's slumber parties and do stuff, like, I do stuff with them the whole time, like, half the time. Like, hey, let's do this. Let's do this. You know, and I try to be a positive influence.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's kind of what your point is also, is that you don't know what's going to change their lives.
No, you never do.
You know?
You never do.
Try to do the
as
right
long as you're
thing.
operating. So, like, I had to have a conversation with my boys because my boys thought I was irate and I had lost my temper.
They don't know you that well.
and I'm like, guys, that was all very calculated. If you noticed, I was late to the party and I was assembling my thoughts and I was putting plans together.
Yeah.
And I didn't plan on grabbing the kid by the shirt until, like, I planned on I plan on getting in the kid's face.
That was probably the first time your emotions have taken hold of you in a while.
No, my emotions were not part of that.
When you grabbed the kid's shirt?
No.
Oh.
So I planned on getting in the kid's face and having a moment with him. But then as I'm walking down there and I learned that he's put his hands on my kid.
Then the emotions take over.
Well, no, then it was, okay, I have to elevate this. Instead of him being visibly or verbally threatening, he put his hands on my kid. So now I have to find a way to put my hands on him without getting in trouble. Right? And because we know the cops aren't going to help this situation, it's not the cop's job, right, to do that.
No.
And so I'm
their
like,
job is to hold the peace and hold the law.
yeah, and so if this kid's going to learn anything from this, like I have to find a delicate way. And so there's a whole thought process as I'm walking across this grass over there of like, how can I do this without getting assault charges on me, but looking a little crazy?
Amateur.
And so, yeah. And so I'm like, I'm just going to grab his shirt. I'm not going to hurt him. I'm not going to grab his arms. I'm not going to do
put
anything.
A little fear of God
I'm
going to
put some wrinkles in his shirt, and that's it. And literally, that was the thought that went through my mind. You can't get assault charges on you for wrinkling somebody's shirt. And so I'm going to wrinkle the shirt. And so that's all I did. I just grabbed his shirt, and I twisted it up in my hands, and I wrinkled the shirt. And so I have no doubt that I made an impression on the kid, because 5 hours later, the kid actually Snapchat friend requested my oldest son.
Really?
And it was kind of a malicious play. He was trying to act like,
I got you.
No, he was trying to say, I'm just new to the area and looking for friends kind of thing. But like, we knew the kid's name because the mom was saying his name.
Yeah.
And so then we started kind of looking into it, and we're like, that's that kid. So like, I don't know what his intentions were, but here 4 hours later, it's obviously still heavily weighing on his mind.
Well, they're kids. I mean, that's a 2-dayer.
Yeah.
If it sticks past 2 days, you made an impression.
Right. And it's like, at the end all be all, I'm actually kind of proud of myself that I was able to keep my emotions out of it. Nobody knew it. Everyone thought I was like losing my cool. And even my brother-in-law.
How old was the dad?
There's no dad in the picture. The lady's dad?
Grandpa.
70s, early 70s.
Yeah, you can't
now,
punch you can't punch a 70-year-old man.
No, and he's cool.
No, I know, but
he's actually really cool. It's
someone's
got
to take the example.
Yeah. It's the daughter that's not cool.
So that being said, they raised her.
Right. And they're not calming her in their home.
No.
Right?
And they're not dictating the situation to her in their home. That's bad parenting.
Yeah.
Like, that's just bad parenting.
Yeah. And
although I say that, if I was at my dad's house and acting like a crazy person, he wouldn't say nothing either.
No, I probably wouldn't.
No, he's scared to death. I'll do something stupid.
But so ultimately it was one of those things of like, how do I affect change in this situation to put this to bed? Well, I'm just going to push the limits, and I'm going to look like a crazy guy for a minute. And so keep in mind, my plan was to walk through the creek on the way there.
TRT.
Well, when Grant caught me halfway there and said he put his hands on me, I bypassed the creek and I walked straight up to the kid. So I still had my boots on, and I'm still ready to walk through the creek. So as I'm walking home, I jump down in the creek, splash around a little bit, and then walk on home. And again, the whole purpose was kind of letting them know, like, I might be a crazy guy. You never know.
I may be insane.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know what would be really immature but fun? Is to get some lawn chairs and some umbrellas.
We've already joked around about going and hanging out down in the green space down there near the creek and just having a party.
Dude, we should do it.
So, but I'm not one to antagonize.
I am. Let's do it. That's why we're friends.
I'm not trying to antagonize. I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I can while also raising the level of craziness to a point where they're like, okay, let's stop messing with that family. Right. And so
you're so nice.
This is a crazy long story, but how this ties to business.
It's a good story though.
It's funny.
Not everything has to tie to business, but it does.
But no, this actually has a very good tie to business. And how this ties to business is that developing employees is similar to raising children. And I don't want to compare employees to children because they're not, right? They're adults.
Yeah.
But your children
have
established you as the leader of the household. Your children look up to you for guidance. Your children look up for you to model the behavior that they're supposed to do.
Yes.
And your children look for you to set the rules. right?
Agreed.
And as much as kids may disagree with rules, and they'll never admit to the importance of rules, rules are wildly important in the development of children.
You have to have structure, and you have to have rules, and you have to have discipline.
Yeah. And you have to have standards.
Yes.
Right? And so never once did my kids motherfuck anybody over the shoulder of us talking to them.
Can you imagine if Grant was the older one and Mason was the younger one?
Their personalities would be different.
No, I'm just saying Grant would have knocked that kid out.
And,
dude, if that was you and your brother, your brother would have been whipping some ass back in the day.
So like this ties to business from the standpoint of me as a leader of the household in that moment. I had to take a few moments. I let everybody else go down there first. And while I was gathering my mud boots, I took a few moments and I planned a strategy for how I wanted the outcome to happen. And I planned a strategy for like my actions during this, right? And it gave me a few moments to collect my thoughts and keep my emotion out of it. Now, part of that was making it look like I was full of emotion, right? Because it's hard to look crazy if you're monotone.
I don't want to say this, but the fact that you could intentionally do that is a little crazy.
Yeah, is a weird feeling. It's a very weird feeling.
No, not people can't do that.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people can do that intentionally. Not like good actors can, like that.
Well, so
I'm a little worried about you.
So the importance,
psycho.
Well, the importance of that was the 60 seconds of extra preparation I had.
Oh yeah, of course.
While everyone else is marching down there and looking the enemy in the face and thinking about what they're gonna say and all of that stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gathering my thoughts.
The tactical part of your brain makes me nervous if something ever happens when we get cross ways. Like this guy's coming at me he's playing 4D chess over here, and I'm playing checkers. I
don't know if it's 4D chess, but
you get the analogy.
Yeah. And so, like, business ownership and leading employees is very similar. There's going to be flashes in the pan that make you want to react instantaneously and full of emotion.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. You have to be able to set your emotions aside and use your brain power.
And believe it or not, setting your emotions aside can happen in as few as 60 seconds. You step away from the situation, which I did by going to the garage and grabbing my boots. To be fair...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I knew I was going to traipse through the creek, and so that's why I wanted my boots.
Yeah.
And then while I was getting my boots, I'm gathering my thoughts and gathering my plan and everything else.
Everyone wants to make fun of the count to 10 and breathe. It really only takes 10 seconds.
In some situations, yes.
You know what I mean? Most of the time, that 10 seconds of breathing and thinking about what you're going to do, it makes a huge difference. That's something that, as I've gotten older, I've had to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have to do it. If not, I'm not as cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah. Now, what's crazy is there was recently a story, like within the last 2 months, there was a story of a plumbing company owner that definitely has a temper problem. And
he's not one of our members, is he?
No.
Okay.
He got mad at a kid for riding a dirt bike on a street. And he pulled over in his company van. It was like a small Ford Transit. And it was unmarked.
So it's just white?
Yeah, it's just white. But he pulls over, and he starts, like, punching this kid in the helmet and starts cussing him out.
Because he was driving down the street?
He doesn't like these kids driving dirt bikes on his street.
Well, he's a piece of shit.
Totally. And now he's getting flamed up through all social media. Of course, he gets arrested for assault and everything else. And he's getting flamed up through all kinds of social media, like, don't call this plumbing company and everything else. And so there was a moment where I'm like, okay, did I plan to go a little too far? Like, let's say, like, I don't know. I know they were videoing after. Maybe they have video of me grabbing the kid by the shirt. But, like, it's possible.
You're not punching the kid.
Right. Well, and it's possible they could frame this with the right story that plumbing company owner loses cool on a kid. And so I was a little worried about it at first. And then I'm like, hold on. The truth always prevails.
There's nothing but good publicity.
Yeah. And it's like, we didn't do anything wrong. I didn't inflict harm on anybody. Yeah, I may have scared the kid, but what's scarier? A kid that's willing to do his mom's dirty work and go assault people? But because he's underage and the people he's assaulting are underage, it's a wash, but he's still assaulting people at the direction of his mom?
Yeah.
Or a kid that has, for lack of a better term, a coach, albeit a like we've all had a coach get heated with us. Now, anybody in sports has had a coach
yell at you, yeah,
and scream down your neck. And if you're in football, he grabs your face mask and he moves your head around a little bit. And
if you're dumb shit, what are you
if you're in basketball,
doing?
he may throw the ball at you or he may grab it out of your hands, right?
Yeah.
You've all had a coach get borderline physical.
Those are great moments of growing up. Yeah.
Those are coaches that actually care about you.
Yeah.
Right?
We're not growing athletes, we're growing people.
Right. And so like whether this kid chose me as his coach or not, that was literally in my mind as I was grabbing my boots and walking down there, was I need to approach this as a very upset coach that expects more from the kid. And so that's exactly what I did. I approached it from that standpoint. I want to get as physical as I can without hurting him.
You're not laying groundwork for a case later, are you?
No, I wouldn't think so. But, you know,
kidding,
and if that's against the rule or against the law, then so be it. It's against the law and I broke the law.
You know what?
Right?
I don't.
But I don't feel bad for anything I did because I didn't harm the kid. I didn't hurt the kid. But I made an impression on the kid. And I made the kid think in the future, like, how am I going to act under the direction of a crazy mom in the future? Like, eventually this kid's going to understand. Kids always figure their parents out. And eventually the kid's going to understand. Mom was a loose cannon, and mom got me into a lot of trouble that I didn't need to be in.
He probably he may already know that.
Hopefully that happened after this weekend. But the tie to business with all of this is we have to do the same thing with our employees. We have to set standards. We have to enforce standards. And we can't expect our employees to go do things we wouldn't do. And unfortunately, there's a lot of business owners out there that when push comes to shove and money gets tight, they start expecting their employees to become unethical. And they'll take advantage of people. They'll take money from people. They'll sell people things they don't need.
Yeah.
They'll overprice jobs just for the extra money or whatever the case may be. And those are the times where your ability as a coach really comes out. Those are the times where your ability as a coach is your employees see this, and your employees will see this is a good guy because he said the right things when things were bad, and he said the right things when things were good. And when we had the opportunity to pile on, he said no.
Yeah.
Prime example, today.
Haven't had a today.
Yesterday we did a sewer repair. And the cost of the sewer repair was $9,300. Okay.
Dig job?
It's a dig job.
No pipe burst?
No
How
pipe
long?
burst.
Not that long at that price.
It was just very difficult to get to under a lot of utilities, under an asphalt driveway.
A lot of probing rod?
Well, a lot of unknowns, too, because we told them we were going to replace their line from where it was collapsed to the city main, and that's 5 feet from the city main. And we didn't know exactly how deep the city main was. And so, like, we were out on a limb a little bit. We did, but the difference between the manholes was stark.
Really?
And so we didn't know exactly where the main dived and everything else. And so we get out there, and our guy, phenomenally efficient, gets access to it right away, learns that it's not as bad as it could be, but it's worse than it could have been. But we're on pace to get this thing done in a day. But the line dropped to the city main so steeply that we needed to gravel backfill, so I had to run some gravel out there.
Okay.
So I go out there and run some gravel to them.
You run gravel, you don't ever have it delivered?
It's cheaper and faster. I mean, it'd take a day to get it delivered.
Yeah, well, yeah, you usually have to order it the day before.
Yeah, I can jump in the truck, grab the dump trailer, and get gravel out there in 2 hours.
I didn't mean to get you off top.
That's fine.
That immediate thought rolled into my brain. What is he doing?
And so I run gravel out there, and I haul. Anytime we add gravel to a hole, we got to haul dirt off. So I haul dirt off and everything else. Well, so we go to collect on the job. It was planned for a 2-day job, but because I brought them gravel and saved them a little bit of time, we got the job done in a long day.
Well, you just tell the customer, right, like what you're thinking.
Well, we don't tell them how long it's going to. We tell them it could take up to 2 days, right? So we don't owe them anything or anything like that.
Gotcha.
But so the customer goes to the bank and they withdraw $9,300. They hand it to our guy in the envelope.
Cash?
Yeah.
Woo!
And so my guy counts the $9,300 and he says, "Yep, it's all here." And my guy's nervous about having that much cash in his truck.
He drives straight to your house.
He drove straight to our house, drops it off, and so Danielle counts it. It's $9,100, and so it's $200 short. And my guy's like, "No, I counted it in front of the customers. It was $93." If these are new bills, they're from a bank. And if you have new bills and you have an error in your count, usually your count's low because the bills stick together.
Yeah.
Right? And so he's like, I really don't know how I would have counted 93 out of 91. Maybe they got me distracted, and he's like all freaking out. But it's like, guys, stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
And these are those moments, those opportunities
relax,
where
bro.
I have a chance to have an impression on my guy by how I handle this, right? When things are thin, we just got shorted $200. When things are thin, how do I handle it? And so I say, well, because you were the one on site, you collected the money and you counted it in front of them, it's not going to look good if I call them and tell them they shorted me $200. That's going to look like I don't trust them and I don't trust you. So what I want you to do is I want you to call them and tell them, I know I counted out 9,300 in your presence. However, I got it back to the office and it's only 9,100. Is there a chance I dropped $200 walking out of your house or left it on your kitchen table or something?
Yeah.
And then remind them that if it can't be found, like, it's on us to eat it because he counted 93 in front of them and left.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
And we don't want the customer to think we don't trust them or we think they shorted us.
Yeah, of course.
But if it's simple,
and that's the right thing to say when you call.
Yeah, if we call them and they're like, oh yeah, here's $200 left on the coffee table, it must have been under the envelope or something. We could swing back by and get it. But no, she sent a screenshot of her bank transactions where she withdrew $9,300, and it was in a sealed envelope. And she handed the sealed envelope to our guy. And so somehow between there and there, the $200 is gone. And most likely it's in their house somewhere. And they even said, like, if it turns up in our house, we'll let you know and come get it. I mean, I wouldn't if I were them.
I wouldn't either. I'd be like, hey.
That's like Monopoly, right?
Made $200.
Bank error in your favor. Here's $200.
Yeah, bank error in your favor.
Right. And but those are those types of parental moments in business where I have an option to handle a situation that gives my guy faith to our ethical practices in business, or I have an option to make my guy question our ethics in business.
Yeah.
And obviously we take the ethical route every time.
And let's be honest, it's $200.
Right.
You do not want to create animosity between you and an employee, a good employee, for $200 fucking dollars. Even if the guy stole the $200,
right,
which you don't think he did. I'm
no,
just saying,
there's not a doubt in my mind that there's not a question
even
that he stole
if he did.
Yeah.
Who cares? We're not talking $2,000. We're not talking $25. We're talking $200.
Yep.
You have to pick and choose your battles sometimes.
And
right,
if I picked the stern route and started lighting everybody up and calling him a thief and calling her a short, she shorted us on the bill and everything else, and then the money shows up in 3 days.
Yeah, now you look like a piece of shit.
Now I look like an ass, right?
Yeah, you look like a...
And I don't care if I look like an ass. However, I do care if I look like an ass to my employees because the message, the consistent message they need is that Mitch stands for the right side of business no matter the situation.
We talk about consistency a lot.
Yeah.
Consistency in leadership is one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah.
With how you behave in front of your employees, how you talk to them all the same, how you are an even-keeled individual is extremely important.
Yeah. And so, there's an opportunity there where that child, and I don't know their whole story, right?
Yeah.
But
hell, dad could be dead for all you know.
Right. I don't know their story, but what I do know is 100% of my experience with that child is he's out there technically breaking the law on behalf of his mom.
Yeah.
And so, but he's also getting to the point where he's going to start seeing the real world and trying to compare. We all do this as we grow and develop. We start comparing what we see in the real world to our childhood. And then we start, like, a lot of people justify this as, I had a fucked up childhood. Yeah. Right? Because they see how the real world operates and they find the things in their childhood that didn't align with it. And so, here I had an opportunity to impress upon the kid, like, what could happen. Now, thankfully, I had a cool head. Even though I acted like I didn't, I had a cool head with the whole thing. I was not going to harm the kid. Never. I'm never going to harm a kid, right?
No, I'll punch a woman in the face before I'd hurt a kid.
Right. I'd be more physical with, like, I'd have a higher chance of getting physical with his mom before him.
I can't believe that your crazy redhead wife didn't punch her in the mouth.
What's funny
Like,
is Danielle ignored the woman the entire time. Danielle walked straight up to, and I think Danielle ignored the woman because it's the kid's mom, but she doesn't live there. She doesn't own the property, anything. And so Danielle went straight to the property owner. And that guy's name's Steve. And Danielle went straight up. And Steve is, like I say, he's a very cool old man. It's obvious that he's embarrassed at his daughter's actions and he doesn't know how to rein in his daughter.
Yeah.
But
because mom's probably a bitch too.
Right.
You know,
he's probably like trying to find that balance.
He's probably
of the two evils.
he's probably super passive aggressive, and he's like, I'm trying to live my life. I'm 70. I don't care.
Right.
But to my point, your wife has been looking for a reason to smack a motherfucker for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I am I can't tell if I'm surprised, disappointed, or impressed.
Yeah.
That she didn't get an assault charge.
I think because I came in there so hot.
She was like,
I looked like I was hot under the
You
collar.
think it scared her a little bit? Like, oh, fuck.
I probably put
back.
everybody else on their heels a little bit, which was the goal. So I've read the cliff notes of Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. And, and I need to buy the book because I want to read the book.
I'd like, if you do, I want to read it after you buy it.
The general premise is to start out with a wildly obscene position that nobody would have expected you to have. And that opens up tons of room for negotiation.
That's the definition of my life.
And so in the cliff notes, if somebody's asking $100,000 for something,
you offer 10.
You're offering 50. You're not coming in there and offering 90.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why I didn't get any of those trucks, and it took me so long to get this one.
Right. Because if you offer 90, you're going to settle in like 95, right? Well, if you offer 50, you might have a chance for settling at like 85 or 80.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of stuck with me of like, okay, start out with a wildly extreme position. Well, this isn't, for lack of a better term, a negotiation.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start off with a wildly extreme position.
People don't understand life is a negotiation.
Yes. 24/7.
Everything you do, every interaction you have with a person is a negotiation.
Yep.
They're sizing you up. You're sizing them up.
Yeah.
I mean, until you become good friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you meet someone new, you're doing it immediately.
Yep.
Next time you hang out, you're doing it. You go to the grocery store. I'm not talking about me. You see a hot chick in the produce section. You're trying to pick her up. You're both sizing each other up the whole time.
Yeah.
Life is a negotiation constantly.
Yeah. And so that was the thought process going into that was like, all right, let's take a lesson from The Art of the Deal, and let's start this with an extreme position, one that they may not expect.
Yeah.
Right. And then we'll see where it goes from there. And so, you know, that was the full intent. I'm glad I had the extra 60 seconds to figure all that out and collect my thoughts and all that. But business is the same way. And so when something comes under your collar in business, you don't have to respond immediately. If an employee pisses you off, you can tell them, I'm going to call you in an hour when I calm down and we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
You can send them home for the day and not fire them and let cooler heads prevail, right? Ultimately, you want to be making decisions without emotion, and you want to be making very calculated decisions where you're thinking several steps ahead of, if I go this route and it follows this path, what's the outcome? If I go this route and it follows this path, what's the outcome, right?
Yeah. I will say, like, people aren't like you a lot of the times. Successful business owners usually are. If you aren't that way, always walk away, like Mitch was just saying. Always buy yourself more time.
Yeah.
Always. To the young guns that are 28 and are full of piss and vinegar, buy yourself time.
Yeah.
Walk away. Sleep on it. Make a decision. If it takes 3 hours, 4 hours, sleeping on whatever. You will do yourself and your business great benefit by not immediately reacting emotionally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I had heard a quote a long time ago that stuck with me, and I don't know where this quote came from. If I had to guess, I would say maybe the movie Pearl Harbor. But I
thought you were going to like pull a Brad Lee out.
Oh, no.
The movie Pearl Harbor with the shittiest Ben Affleck act. Okay.
But the quote is, we may have lost the battle, but losing that battle was instrumental in winning the war. And so there's a lot of people out there that fight to win every single argument, and therefore they lose the war.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to lose an argument.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes you got to swallow your pride and just be like, you know what? Next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Right. And so, I was willing to lose the battle of so I was calculated when I'm walking down there. And as soon as my son said he put his hands on him, I'm like, okay, we're going to elevate this to not only me getting in his face, but I'm going to grab his shirt. And I'm like, this could go wrong. This could go in a way that lands me with an assault charge.
Yeah, mom comes over, shoves you, you lose your cool, punch mom in the mouth.
Who knows?
Kid falls down. They say it's,
somebody
you did
slips and now the kid falls down and I didn't push him, but it looks like I did. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm knowingly going into this, knowing that this might go kind of a bad way momentarily.
It only looks like I bought that cocaine.
However, if the outcome is what I want it to be, is it worth it? Right? And so I'm like, okay, how aggressive, if I grab a kid's shirt and somehow that gets construed to an assault charge, how aggressive of assault charge can that be? It can't be bad. Because I already know I'm not going to punch a kid.
It's
the whole time I'm walking,
$250 to get out, and then it's probation and some community service and a $500 fine.
Which I already do community service, like all the shit that I do in the community anyway can be construed as community service. But what I'm saying is like I'm walking down there feeling bad for the kid, and I'm trying to make an impression on him and his mom. And so the impression I'm trying to make is to the kid, it's eventually doing your mom's dirty work is going to hurt you, and be glad you had somebody in front of you today with some restraint, but also make that impression on his mom of your kid might be a little too old to do your dirty work for you now.
Yeah.
And especially at the size your kid is, somebody's going to confuse that kid for an adult. Yeah. And especially the way that he talks. Yeah. Very brazen.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good way to get smacked in the mouth. For sure.
A kid that's 5'8" and 195 pounds.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter his age. If he's 5'8" and 195 pounds and he's motherfucking you, that's an adult. Right?
I agree.
There's a lot of people that are going to construe it that way. And so, but I knew all that going in. And so that was the whole purpose of let's create a visual show to try to make this eventually get to the outcome that we want. And that's what you have to do in business a lot. And a lot in business is being very calculated with a visual show. And so as you're dealing with conflict in business, make sure to keep your emotions out of it, but be very calculated with what you're doing and think a couple of steps ahead. If I go this route, they're probably going to do this, and then I'm probably going to do this, and it's probably going to result in this. And as long as you're thinking a couple of steps ahead and you're calculated with your decisions and you're removing your emotion, most likely the results are going to work in your favor.
Yeah, agreed.
It's the people that are operating from emotion that get in trouble every time, right? Yeah. And they get mad and they punch somebody. Well, they made me punch them. No, they didn't, right?
Yeah, and that's another topic for another day. But
it can be. Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, you're in control of yourself. Yeah. And so be in control of yourself, right? And that includes not only when things are tense, but also when things are easy. Be in control of yourself when your team does great, and be intentional about how you praise them.
Yeah.
I was very intentional with how I praised our team with our performance last month. In May, we hit our sales targets, and so I took everybody out to dinner. We're going to hit our sales targets again in April, and so I'm going to take everybody out to dinner again in April. And I'm going to just make this a repeat habit. Hey, look, I took them out to dinner for hitting our sales targets, and they did it again. Let's take them out to dinner again, right? So being very intentional when the behaviors are the right way, too, shows okay, long-term reward is they repeat the processes that I reward, or they repeat the behaviors that I reward. So let's keep reinforcing positive behavior.
Yeah.
And
reinforcing positive behavior until they become numb to it.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There will always be we have to step it up here, we have to do this, or we have to change this. Because
targets need to move with seasonality, right?
Yeah.
And so thankfully our targets now are actually a little lower than they used to be because we've trimmed some overhead. So that's kind of cool. But ultimately business ownership can be very emotional. But you have to find ways to remove your emotion if you want to be successful.
Yeah.
Because the guy who puts his heart on his sleeve in business loses all the time.
Yeah.
Never once has an incredibly passionate individual that was unaware of his audience won in business. Passion wins in business, but you also have to link that passion to your awareness of who, like, read the room.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind as you're trying to develop people and trying to develop your team, and keep that in mind as you are talking to your team in tense situations, because that will determine the outcome of those situations. If 3 days after that tense situation you still have a team and they haven't quit yet, you probably did it right.
But if you burn your vehicle on the way out,
right? If your team all quits on you, then you probably operated from emotion, and that happens a lot.
It does, but if you're not smart enough to know that, I'm sorry, you're fucked.
Yeah, yeah. So
they all quit me.
That's on you, dog.
That's on you. I don't know what to tell you. Don't ask me for advice. There's nothing I can help you with. You fucked it up. It's over. Start again.
Not a lot we can do for that. So
wrap us up, Mitch.
Yeah, that's
running along, buddy.
That's all we got. So until next week, guys, we will see you later. If this show brought you value, if it made you think of things in a different way, if it brought you any questions, our emails are in the description of this show at the bottom there. So feel free to email us with any questions you have. We have a show coming up with some emails. We've received a couple of great question emails that we haven't covered yet. And so we have a show coming up where we're going to do some questions. If you guys have more, feel free to send them to us. We'd love to do a whole show of nothing but questions.
One more shout out. Butch Freeman.
I don't even know who that is.
I know. He messaged me the other day, wanted some information about trade winds, and I told him I'd give him a shout out on the podcast.
Love it. Love
Butch Freeman, buddy. Hope you sign up.
Yeah. So until next week, guys, we will see you later.